Okay, well, the last episode sucked, so we're gonna try to get it up to speed.
Not that bad.
You thought that was interesting? I tried to recap my whole Japan experience, and
It made me jealous. I wanted to be there.
It wasn't.
The only good thing to happen to Japan was Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
All right, we're going there already. And welcome to the Super Suck Hour. My name is the Super Sucklord. We're here in the studio with Mutopia Toys. I don't even know what your new name is now.
Mutopia Toys.
Mutopia Toys. We used to have other names for you. You got a lot of names.
I like this one now.
Mutopia
Just
Toys. Luke.
Just Luke. Don't call me nothing else. The Red King in leather.
Okay.
I got like internet shit.
Is this audio okay?
Just fucking look at me.
It's incredible.
Here, talk in the mic. Jake, back in the house. She's the computer girl and the king of swag, Nasty Neil. And we're slotting the fuck back in after like taking a long hiatus. We're finally back in the cut, and we got a really hot show for you tonight. Before we get into the fucking tonkatsu and cold soba noodles of this episode, I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Ren 1 Labs. Once again has come through with edition 2 of the Suckadelic sticker series, and these are popping up all over the city and all over Tokyo, and it's all thanks to the generous quality contributions of Ren 1 Labs at StoreEnvy.com. He's the best guy, and he's working on sticker number 3 right now. Yeah, I would like to apologize to some of the other people who have recently solicited to sponsor the show materially with manufactured products. I haven't been able to get to you right now because my return from Tokyo was a total clusterfuck, and I'm just basically getting my shit together now. We'll get back to you in time. Be patient. We appreciate what you've offered. Again, we're soliciting donations. Thank you, everybody, for the incredible sums of money that you've denigrated.
Hundreds and thousands of dollars.
We're getting there. Thank you, everybody. Send us that shit at suckadelic.com/suckhour, and there's a big fat PayPal button there, and you can give us some motherfucking money, and we can have specimens like this come through all the time for your listening enjoyment. Yes, okay.
Look how sturdy that is. I can't even break through it.
We're moving right along, and another one of these series of friends of mine. Yeah. I've invited a very significant person from the Suckadelic cosmology to sit down with us tonight so we can get to know him a little bit better. His name is Luke of Mutopia Toys.
Yo.
We used to call him Weird Luke until he said, "Stop calling me that." And we honored that. And then in the fantasy universe of Toy Lords of Chinatown, he played the character Fuzzy.
Mm-hmm. I didn't like that name either.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, you used to be somewhat fuzzy, but now it's not so fuzzy. It's kind of straight and sharp.
I started using a Bic. You know, just straight down every other day.
Well, your hair was curly when I first met you, and now it's straight.
I got flat iron.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, we just want to get... I mean, anybody who's been following Suckadelic definitely knows who you are. They've seen your toys, they've seen you in the films, and they know that you used to be my intern.
Apprentice.
It's
a big difference.
Yes,
right.
That's true. You used
intern doesn't get anything out of it.
You're right. Well, yeah, you're right. Yes, that...
I can attest to that.
Yeah, I know. You were my apprentice. You were not my first apprentice, but I will say, you were my most successful apprentice. Not only in the act of your apprenticing, but like what you went on to accomplish in the world.
Yeah.
You definitely validated my approach.
I don't have a job. I just make toys.
Yeah, exactly. And who would have ever thought that? Who would ever thought that? Because let's give a little backstory here. You're going to have plenty of time to talk, but first I'm going to just tell everybody my account of how you came onto the scene, and you can just sit there and look uncomfortable or agree with everything. I never know what you're going to do. Sometimes you're like a Frankenstein monster that I'm afraid is going to come back and destroy me.
Frankenstein is cool.
Yeah, you have some destructive tendencies. But anyway, way back in the day, when the Sucklord was the king of the fucking hill, when he was the best fucking guy to ever grace any single comic convention or designer toy function ever, 2009, I was making my first figure with Onell Design. I did a an Onel Sucklord figure, and we were selling it at New York Comic Con, one of the earlier ones, and I was full swag in the classic outfit, and this was back in the day where anything I made just fucking flew out the door like anything, and I was fucking pimping so hard, winning on every level. And, you know, this was with Onel Design. They make the little Glaus figure, this whole system of interchangeable designer action toys from space and whatever, from the imagination of our friend Matt Dowdy, and that's a whole universe unto itself, and I was just latching onto it like the opportunist that I am. Yeah, so the Cosmic Opportunist was the first figure that I made, and I was shilling him with them, and we were selling him, and he gets a lot of fans and friends, and he's one of those type of guys that inspires other creatives to do stuff. So I'm standing there doing my thing, getting my dick sucked, and this fucking creature walks up. This fucking strange, he must have been 13, 14, maybe 15.
Something like that.
Weird, like, imagine if this guy is a frog right now. There's the tadpole version of this thing. Little glasses and the curly mohawk and the leather jacket and his little toys and his father with him, you know, showing it to Matt Dowdy, like, look at what I do. And I was like, oh, sweet Jesus, God in heaven, oh, this poor boy and his poor father. What is this kid gonna do in the world? I'm buttering you up for a huge blowjob, you know that. I was like, he just seemed like a kind of a shy, gentle, frail kid, and it was just like, I was like, oh my God, this kid is gonna try to make toys, and it's like, oh God, this is never gonna work. And then I promptly forgot about him. And then 2 years later, I get an email from some kid from some remedial high school.
Retard school.
Retard school.
Call it like it is.
Yes, it was a special ed school.
Retard school.
I wouldn't use that term. You used it, but you didn't. It was framed as just like you were from some school for kids that got kicked out of regular school because they just couldn't learn shit.
Yeah, I strangled a kid in my old school.
Yes, I know.
Second grade, he wouldn't share blocks.
You didn't play nice with others.
No, not at all.
And you had some socialization issues or some other disabilities. I don't know. I think at one time you diagnosed yourself as like Aspergery, but it was some sort of self-diagnosis.
No, that was an official diagnosis.
Really?
Yeah. Some shit like that.
Well, that's
some fucking doctor.
Yeah, and we could whatever. You had a lot of shit. You hit me up and it was like you were looking for an internship. I asked apprenticeship, but no, in the context of what it was part of your high school.
Yeah.
So in their mind, it was an internship. What it became between us was an apprenticeship. But it was at least initially under the guise as you had an intern for a company as part of like some senior project. And all the kids would go out and pick a company that they wanted to work for.
They just got a job. You're supposed to go and get a job. Okay. And every Friday, instead of going to school, you went to the fucking job.
Yeah, it was like city-ass school in a way. That's something similar.
It's similar to that.
And some of these kids got jobs. Where was the type of jobs that some of these kids got?
I don't fucking know.
Copy shops, fast food
like
restaurants.
A fucking office. Like New York Times.
And this is the job you chose?
Well, he's allowed to choose his own job, and he chose this. Yeah,
that was the whole thing. You had to go out and get the job.
Yeah.
You know, and you were the only person I hit up. And I hit you up at the last minute. Yeah. Because I didn't want to get a job.
Yeah, and there was no job you were qualified for.
Yeah.
Nobody was going to hire you. That was the point. Nobody was going to hire you.
Yeah, there was the whole work-study thing at the school that was going the previous years, and they always had problems with me because I wouldn't change my hair and I wouldn't dress right.
I could never get a job, too. All the time when I was younger trying to get a job. It wasn't like I tried. I wanted it. I needed money. I needed a job. I did the best I could. Every sort of normal job I ever applied for, I never got it. And then, whatever. I'm doing my own thing. So I get this email from some random kid, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I could use some help around here on board. Whatever, I'm a generous guy. Sounds fun. What the hell? I had an apprentice before. He did fine. Boom. That was Billy Royds. You were number 2. And then, so we make an appointment, and he shows up, and I go down to open the door. This is when I was at Chrisley Street, and I see him, and it's that fucking kid from the Comic-Con, and I'm like, oh, God, oh, no. Oh no, I have to take responsibility for this. I mean, you weren't that bad, but you were less you now, and you seemed vulnerable, and I didn't know you, and I just felt like, oh, this is just one of those kids that's not going to make it. He's too, I was so convinced because he was coming from a special ed school that he was just going to... Yeah, that he was going to be just unworkable, or there was no hope for this poor kid. So, I took him in, and I gave him work every Friday he'd come in after work and he'd cut the flash off my figures and he'd just do the remedial stuff. And we'd be sitting in the room together, and he was also a toy designer, so of course he had his ulterior motives. He wanted to do his shit and run his shit, and that was, agreeable to me because it was like, you're working for free and I'm not just exploiting you for free work, I'm supposed to be mentoring you, and helping you do shit. So it was like, all right, I'll let him use the compressor, let him make his molds, and whatever. And we sat there in that room for hours and hours and hours and hours, and wound up becoming friends. He was quite the intellect, and had quite a perspective, and understood a lot of things about what I was doing, and had lots of good suggestions and ideas. So he became more of an apprenticeship, and he suddenly, or over the course of a year, went from this weird kind of awkward kid into this like fucking road warrior villain. It just like, or maybe it was a little more than a year, but I've never seen a person, by the force of his own will, and maybe a couple of extra years of puberty, transform himself from a strange maladjusted weakling into like the actual version of the thing he idolized most. He's like wanted to fucking live in the road warrior world, and by the sheer force of his will, he does. And it was I think not all of it, because he was who he was and he was going to do it anyway, but I think under the tutelage of the Sucklord, he was able to come to terms, or at least mature, his complete unemployability. He was able, by using the Sucklord method, or many parts borrowed from it, to set up his own toy empire and make a professional living creating resin toys.
Professional.
Yeah.
Gigantic fucking quotation.
But I'm saying you don't have a job, right?
No,
and you make
no.
money off of it,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so that's professional. It's your job.
I mean, I guess.
It's how you make your money. But let's face it, the psychedelic method allowed a fucking mutant like you to fucking earn a goddamn living in this shithole world that we live in.
In this fucking city, too.
Yeah.
This expensive-ass fucking city.
Am I allowed to take some credit for your success?
Yeah, of course. No, you should take a huge amount of credit, because fucking... Well, is that shit, you didn't just, like, teach me, you didn't just, like, give me an opportunity to use the stuff. You taught me how to do the stuff right. Because I've been, like, making molds and shit before then, but then when you taught me the shit, you had me, like, doing the work for you, you would explain the right way to do it. You showed me how to make the molds the right way, because I watched you doing it, and you showed me how to, like, clean everything up and make everything, like, look right, how to present everything. It's just, like, the attitude to take it shit, just, like, the fuck you, what's in it for me attitude.
Yeah, and I think
that's, like, the most important thing about
I personally think
business.
that was the most important thing, is that, like, anybody can kind of figure out the technical stuff. If you didn't learn that shit from me, you could have learned it somewhere else.
Yeah.
I think where you thrived most under my mastery was the way I ran my business, or just at least the attitude behind it, and how... Because I went through the exact same thing where just, like, I could not get a job to save my fucking life. And, like, the only success I ever made was just, like, being uncompromisingly myself and starting my own business making resin action figures. And it worked again. Another mutant after me was able to do it, so it proves the fucking theory. It proves the formula. And that, to me, I take a lot of pride for. What you do now, I can't account for at all, because now you've just been unleashed on the world. And thankfully, you did not come back and kill me. Because he doubled in size, he got bigger, and he became less of a fuck-up. Like, I don't think you don't seem to have too many social problems, do you?
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, it's more just the ability to navigate it. Like knowing how to, like, do what with the shit you got.
Well, listen,
let's play the hand you're dealt.
Let's talk about your retardation for a minute.
My retardation.
Yeah, because
that's the right way to put it.
Everybody throws Asperger's around as if it's a thing, and I think almost everybody has it to some degree.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
What would you, if you were just gonna define what that meant in some specific terms? What does being Aspergerish mean?
That's a tough question, because this isn't really a thing that I, like, try to spend too much time thinking about, because if you, like, know exactly how to define it, it's easier to use it as a crutch.
Right, no, the thing is, I guess the only reason why I'm asking is because we need to fill up an hour, and I want to analyze shit, and I'm only asking because...
So you want to be my fucking psychiatrist?
I'm only asking you now because that was one of the first things I found out about you.
Yeah, no, I remember when we were talking about
So
that.
it's just like, but now that I've got to know you for over the couple of years, I don't think you are at all, whatever it means. I mean, I guess I would say because I.
Well, the thing is that I cover it really well. You know, because I'm like on the higher end of the spectrum, like closer to normal. You know, there's like when people think like autism or Asperger's, they think of like the kid who's like fucking sitting like spinning shit, you know, who can't fucking speak.
I take it as more somebody that doesn't understand certain social cues.
Which is absolutely correct, you know.
But that's more of a symptom of it than what it actually is.
No, that's Asperger's.
But the thing is, I think I have that too. I think almost, but the thing is, almost everybody I know has it to some extent. If that's what it is, it just like doesn't quite fucking know.
There's a theory that I've read that almost all the like the creative people and the innovators, and this isn't me sucking my own dick.
You can.
Know,
it's
but
big
it's not
enough.
because there's some stupid shit. You know, it might be true. Is that all these like creative people, these innovators, like all these fucking scientists and shit. You know, all of them were like on like deeper on the Asperger's or autism spectrum than like just the regular people running around, and because they were so focused on this specific idea, you know, because that's what Asperger's is. It's not just the social cues thing. It's like when you hone in on something,
right?
You know, when you can like you focus on one thing to like the exception of everything else, which is why we don't have fucking social skills, and that's why, you know, like the shit gets like that, because it's like you just care about like one thing and you just do that. You know, for me it's like Road Warrior and like very specific movies like Road Warrior and Terminator, and like to a lesser degree and not as much now, but like punk music and shit like that.
Yeah, but is that really some sort of condition, or are you just like really into this shit?
It's more than just really in.
Why is it detrimental to you in some way?
It takes focus away from other things.
Like what?
I don't know, like fucking like talking to people like in a certain way, you know, like being able to like communicate in a certain way, you know, just like understanding of other things. You know, like I didn't pay any fucking attention in school, not just because like I couldn't do it or I wasn't good at anything, but just because like even if I wanted to focus on the thing, you know, the class or whatever, I couldn't because I was focusing on something else. You know,
like there's like all there's like wrong with that.
No, there isn't anything wrong with it, but it's a difference between like
what makes you a genius.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah,
it's what makes anyone a genius, because I can relate to that shit.
I feel like you were explaining me.
Yeah, no, I mean a lot of people are that way. A lot of people feel that way. You know, when you hear it described. I think that the big difference between when you have Asperger's and when you're just or autism and when you're just a regular person is how much it fucks you up. You know, because my belief is that everyone is somewhere on the spectrum,
and everyone is also fucked up somewhat.
But some people are just so high on the spectrum that it doesn't register. You know, that's not even a thing. You know, like it's like everyone has the capability for it. You know, but it just doesn't show up in most people, or the majority. I wouldn't say. I
mean, do you think it's something that is more common to creative people or artistic people or?
Not necessarily, because there's a lot of like really aspy autistic people who just aren't creative at all.
No, I'm not saying not all aspy people are creative, but all creative people are aspy.
That's a tougher question.
To some degree.
It doesn't. I honestly wouldn't know.
You don't have to answer it, and I'm not trying to hammer on this or anything. I mean, I guess I'm getting at a larger point, and it's also by studying you, I come to understand myself a little bit to some degree, because I see a lot of commonalities, and it's just like I appreciate the way you've dealt with whatever the fuck is wrong with you, just like everybody's job is. You know, you've dealt with whatever the hell makes you unusual in a very creative way, and I think it's admirable, and I just want to understand you a little bit better. I mean, that's also, you know, why I'm your friend. Yeah. So. But anyway, moving on from that thing, let's talk a little bit about the toys you make.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, because you have a pretty realized world as far as the thing you make. In a way, it's very hyper focused, unlike me, where I just throw all kinds of shit against the wall to see what sticks, you know, and just fuck around and lurch from one thing to another. You're pretty focused.
Yeah.
And you have a line of Mutopia toys.
Mutant Commandos.
Okay, so what is that about exactly? What are you getting at there? Like your toys look like you pretty much.
I mean, I've done the same character of myself over and over again. I'm on like the 4th or 5th generation of it now, you know. But when you ask like what's it about, you know, it's like when I first started doing the shit, you know, like First, I was just sculpting, you know, like over like plastic armatures, like wire joints and shit. This is when I was in like 8th grade or 7th
Well, I saw
grade,
some of the
know?
stuff you brought to O'Nell.
You haven't seen like my really early
Right,
stuff
no,
though. I
but-
would take like, because I used to play like Warhammer and shit, and that's like where I learned how to paint the shit and all that kind of stuff. You know, and to a
Right.
lesser degree like assembly and sculpting and all that. And I remember I had like, they would sell like this green putty they'd use for sculpting art, and I had like
They
this.
called it great stuff or something like that. It was like a
No,
two-part
it
thing
was just
you mixed
called
together.
green stuff. It was,
But you
it was
mixed
like,
it
yeah, it was
together,
like
right?
green and blue.
Oh,
or
yeah,
yellow
yeah.
and blue.
Green
You'd
stuff.
Mix it and it
Green
would
stuff.
turn
That's
blue,
what's
it would
up.
turn
Yeah,
green.
I remember
you know.
that stuff.
And but anyway, so I would have that stuff. And I had like, I remember I'd buy like, they'd sell like fake razor wire or barbed wire for the figures, you know, for making like terrain and shit. And I would use that for the joints. And I would sculpt, you know, like the bicep and like the forearm and the hand, like over like a length of the razor wire. I wouldn't use like normal wire for the joints. For whatever reason, I just used that stuff. I think because it was more textured, so the stuff would stick to it better.
Right.
And there was like these fucking, like they would bend it to joints like that. And they fell apart like crazy because I would play with them and they'd, you know, like they'd just come apart, you know.
Do you still have this stuff somewhere?
Probably. I probably got in like a box in my parents' house somewhere.
I would hold on to that shit if I
I mean,
were
I
you.
didn't throw it away. I just don't know where it is.
I know a guy, Dean Millen, is selling his shit at con artists, his tinfoil toys that he made when he was like in 8th grade because he couldn't afford real toys like 20 years ago. These, you know, like his real juvenile work, and it's like because
Wait,
it's
he was the
interesting.
guy who had like all of the tinfoil shit like covering the walls, right?
I don't know about that. He would make like
No, I mean like
action
a
figures.
ton of different
Yes, a
stuff.
ton
He
of
had
them.
like he had like all the stuff like laid out in the back, right? That was the show that we were
yeah,
both in.
yeah,
Yeah. And he made like the tray, like weapons and shit. Yeah, that
yeah.
kind of
That's
stuff
shit
was
he made
great.
when he was a kid, and now
Yeah.
he's showing it in art.
No, he never
galleries.
stopped making it.
But he started making
Yeah,
it when he was a kid, and
but
the
he
thi-
didn't.
But
No offense to him, because his art's great, but he didn't evolve from that point. He
no,
was
but I
always
mean,
making
but the
tinfoil stuff.
actual pieces that he made
Yeah.
when his kid survived, and they hang in galleries and sell for just as much money as the new stuff he makes. So I'm just saying, hold
because
on
his
to,
work never evolved. from
Yeah, but
the
people
ones
love
he
it.
was.
But it's just
Yeah,
saying,
no, it's
hold
great
on to your
stuff. I'm just
juvenile.
giving
I
him
mean,
shit, you know, I like that
your
guy. I
work
thought he
might
was
not
cool.
evolve either. I mean, you have one thing that you do, and you do it really well, and we don't see any end to it, do we? You okay?
No, I'm not gonna stop doing toys.
Let's say you make
anytime soon.
resin figures, but they're no bootlegging. You're not a bootlegger.
Yeah, no.
Everything you make is sculpted by hand.
I made like
You
one
sculpt
or-
all that yourself?
You got anything?
Everything I
You
sculpt
got
by
anything
hand.
on you?
Well, check
I
out
have,
your site right now. It's
yeah,
pretty
there's,
fucking sick work.
Instagram and shit, and that's probably the best way to see the stuff. I got like some of these guys, like these smaller dudes. I've been working like this 2-inch scale.
All right. Well, we might have to get. I'll have to get some flicks of this, but
Yeah,
this is pretty
and there's
cool.
like photos on the internet and shit. I'm doing like those little guys. Usually my guys are bigger than that. They're like 4 inches. I try and make them bigger than G.I. Joes so they can beat the G.I. Joes up.
My favorite thing that you ever did was the Arnold Schwarzenegger, Ernesto
Oh, yeah.
Schwarzenegger, which was like a figure of this. It was half of Rambo and half of the Terminator,
Yeah,
or
half the Terminator.
half Terminator just sewed together.
Yeah.
And was really disgusting. And I think that was one of the most genius things you did.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. But I think also what makes this interesting is it's similar to the Suck realm in a way, is there's a whole fantasy universe, shall we
Yeah.
say, that goes along with
Oh,
this.
definitely.
Because obviously, looking at you, you live in a total fantasy world.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that you would have a line of
Force
action figures.
others to adhere to the world that I live in.
Yeah, that's what I admire
They
about
don't
you.
get
that-
away with that shit.
Yo, I need that. Where did you get that outfit? Like, how did you find? Because that's obviously custom. You custom painted the red.
Yeah, no, I customize everything I wear.
But like it's so rare, man. Like you can't. You're like Mad Max 2000 and fucking.
2012. In my
20
universe, the world ends in 2012, like on the Mayan calendar, you know?
So it's still that now.
Yeah.
It never
well,
stops
actually, it's
being
dead.
2012.
It was back then, you know, like 4 years ago. Because, you know, you always watch, like, the fucking, like, the older action movies. Like, the year is 2000. And, like, everything's, like, fucking, you know, chrome and flying cars and shit. And, like, and now that it's, like, 2016, you know...
And we don't have shit.
Yeah, well, no, we got shit, actually. I'd say we're pretty fucking close to a lot of that stuff. You know, we got people... I mean, look at that fucking iPhone. You know, that's some fucking Star Trek shit right there. You know, like, we take all that shit for granted. We got, like, fucking all this computer shit.
This is
and
actually
technology.
better
Cars
than
that drive
Star
itself
Trek
now.
shit.
Yeah.
This is a communicator and a tricorder in one.
Yeah.
You have to wear that shit in like a fucking satchel on their side, you know,
Yeah.
to analyze your data. Now you can just do it with this stupid
Yeah, like you can look up any fucking thing in the world on that shit, you know? And it's like, oh, my iPhone, it doesn't do this, it doesn't do that, the battery
I'm
doesn't
guilty-
last
I'm
long
guilty of that.
enough. It cracked when I threw it on the floor. It's like, look at the fucking thing. I mean, I don't use an iPhone. I've got this fucking... I use one of these, you know?
How do you post your shit on Instagram?
I have an iPhone that doesn't have a phone in it.
Just internet.
Yeah, just internet.
Okay,
you know?
that's a solution for some, I suppose.
I don't like having the iPhone because that shit, like... I mean, I'll be, like, sitting at home, I have, like, the computer in front of me, it's basically the same thing, and it's like a fucking vortex, like, I'm just drawn into it.
And also, I'm imagining, like, if you're getting dragged behind some sort of armored vehicle, your iPhone screen might crack, so you prefer to leave it at home.
Yeah, no,
because I know
got,
that
like,
kind of
this
shit
fucking...
happens to you on a daily basis.
It happens all the time. I've been run over by cars, I've been fucking... What was it? I get in like these fucking fights. I was in this fucking fight on the subway, just this knockdown, drag out shit. I ended by sticking my thumb in the guy's eye, you know. And it was like on the train, like right near us, the J train coming into Delancey, the one that I just took actually.
Yeah, I know.
We get in this fucking fight when we're going across the bridge, you know. Like he was like some shit at like a show I was at before. Like I was like. You know, he was like dancing like an asshole, and I told him as much, and he just like goes off. He's like, yo, I'm gonna fucking shoot you, I'm gonna kill you, I'm from the Bronx, we just shoot niggas up there. And I'm just like, you brought a fucking gun to a punk show? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know?
He really brought a gun with him?
No, he didn't have a gun. But, you know, I didn't find that out until much later.
Until you had him on the ground.
Yeah, until we were on the fucking ground on the subway. But, you know, like fucking... So he's like starting all this shit, he's like sticking his hand in his jacket like he's gonna pull out a gun. You know, I don't think I really believed him, because otherwise I might have been a little more frightened, you know? I mean, like, I'm not really going to be afraid of a guy who says he has a gun until I've already been shot, and I know what it feels like, you know?
If they have a gun, they ain't going to tell you, they're just going to shoot.
Exactly.
No, that's not always
You know,
true. Sometimes guys like to show you their gun, like, hey...
But he wouldn't show it. He had his hand in his
I've had guys
jacket.
show me guns and be like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, well, I'm going to disengage from you as quickly as
But
possible.
they didn't shoot you.
No, they didn't come up to me and shoot me, but
They
I've had guys show me...
they don't want to shoot you.
Well...
You know? If a guy doesn't want to shoot you, he's probably not going to shoot
You're
you.
probably right.
Unless you push him to it by being an asshole.
No, but I mean, on the other hand, it's just like sometimes you know they're not going to shoot you, so you're just like, really? Come on.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a stupid game to play. But
so stupid.
I'm glad that you knocked him on his ass.
Yeah, well,
Or
I mean,
you guys kind of
it's
came to
longer
a
than
draw.
that. No, I'll tell you. I can tell the story for the fucking cameras.
Go
if
ahead.
You want. You know, it's a good story. Anyway, so like, it's at this fucking show. He's like, I got a gun. I'm gonna shoot you. I'm just like, nah, man. Like, why the fuck do you bring a gun to a punk show? Like, what's wrong with you?
Why did he want to shoot
you? Know? Because I told him he was dancing like an asshole. You know, I'm like fucking standing there like no one's fucking dancing. He's like stomping on my feet and shit. He tries to shake my hand after. I'm like, nah, like fuck off. You're dancing like an asshole. Like get away from me. You know, and he just goes out like that. He's like shouting at me, you know. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. You know, I got like a bunch of like my friends stand behind me. There's like one person who's there with him, you know, and like he like goes upstairs. He comes back down. He's like making like a fake apology. Like, yo, man, like I'm sorry, you know, but that's just how we do it. Like up in the Bronx, like we fucking shoot people like for nothing. I'm like, okay, this isn't an apology. This is you threatening me. You know, like under the guise of an apology. I'm just like, you know, no, you know, like get
I
outta
still
here.
don't accept that.
Yeah, it's like, no, like, fucking... Like, he's, like, putting his hand on my shoulder. I'm like, no, like, don't touch me. You know? Like, don't fucking touch me. And he gets dragged out there by his friend. You know, it's like tons of people. Like, everyone's crowded around at that point. You know? And anyway, he's, like, gone. It's like the rest of the show, you know, like, whatever. It's just so... It's fun. It's, like, some punk shit, like, slamming, headbutting people, you know? And then I'm going home on the train. I'm standing on the platform. I missed the fucking train coming up. You know, and I'm standing there, and then he comes up on the fucking platform. It's at Myrtle Broadway in Brooklyn, you know. And I'm like, up there, it's the L, you know, it's the elevator one, it's above the fucking thing, it's in the open air. You know, I'm just standing there, and this guy fucking, he comes up, you know, and I see him, and he sees me, and we're like both kind of standing there, like, about a train car's width apart. You know, I'm just like, okay, I'm like not gonna look away, I'm just gonna like keep my eye on him. You know, because I don't know what he's gonna fucking do. You know, I have like this paranoia of like being pushed into train tracks. It makes no fucking sense. Because I think like, oh, well, if I wanted to push someone into tracks, like, well, they probably drag me down with them. I'm not gonna try that, you know. But I still got this fucking like...
It happens, though. I look behind me when the train rolls up. I make sure there's no weirdo standing behind me.
I brace myself.
Yeah, I do that
again,
too.
Like the fighter
or I
stands
hold the
with your
pole
feet.
sometimes.
Yeah, I'll just like put my hand on
People
it,
get pushed in front of the train.
Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, so
Okay, go on.
So like fucking, like I'm standing, the train finally comes, like mad tense, it's like no one's saying anything, just like looking at each other, like kind of keeping our eye on each other.
You both got in the same car.
Yeah, no, he comes over to the same car I'm in. We're like a car's width apart, he comes over to the one I'm in, I'm sitting there, fucking, there's like these two cops on the car, but I'm not gonna say anything, because like one was like, oh, he'd say he was gonna shoot me, like what are they even gonna do, And why would I do that anyway? I'm not gonna talk to a fucking cop. I mean, like, I don't care. Like, fucking, that's none of their business. It's between him and me. Anyway, so they're like questioning, like, oh, like, where are you going? Like, well, why are you dressed like that? Just like giving me shit. And I get off the train at the next stop. I'm standing there. Once we get on the bridge, he's pretending like he's got a cell phone, like he's calling someone on his cell phone. This guy's friend's like, yo, like I got this guy, he's fucking me. Should I shoot him? Should I bust a cap in his ass? I'm just like, all right, yeah, okay, guy, you're gonna shoot me.
Thanks for telegraphing that.
Yeah.
Like,
And where it's like a mostly empty car, there's like 4 or 5 other people in the train car. I'm standing up now. I'm like standing with my back to the doors, in between like the 2 seats. And it's one of the newer train cars with the blue seats. I don't like those as much, but you gotta be where you are. If I'm gonna be in a fight, I'd rather be in one of the older train cars.
Yeah, it's more picturesque that way.
Yeah, exactly. The poles are like.
I know it doesn't. It doesn't look. I don't like the color of the blue seats either.
The floors are way better on the old ones too. There's something about it. There's more chrome that you can see yourself in. Anyway. So, like, I'm fucking standing there. He's, like, going off, like, oh, yeah, should I shoot this guy? Should I kill him? Yeah, okay. I'm like, there's clearly no one on the other end of that phone.
There might not even be a phone.
No, there was a phone.
Okay.
He was holding the phone, you know?
Okay.
But it's like, he didn't call anyone, because he just starts talking right away as soon as he opens.
Okay, so then what happened?
Anyway, so then, like, I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, you got a gun, you're gonna shoot me. Okay, do something about it. He stands up, and he comes over, and he's, like, getting up in my face. And he's like, yo, man, I'm gonna shoot you, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna shoot you. He just keeps repeating it. And I'm just standing there, we're on the bridge, I'm thinking, okay, I can put up with this shit, until we get to Delancey Street, and who knows what happens then. Or I can do something about it. So I fucking punched him in the face. I'm like swinging at him, and fucking, the train's moving, so we get thrown to the ground. And he ends up on top of me, because, like, you're moving around like that, you're stepping, you're punching, you're gonna fall even if you're not on a fucking train. And like I'm like taking him down, but I end up underneath him. And the first thing I do when we hit the ground is I start like whacking his jacket. And he's got no gun in there. Like I'm checking him. There's no fucking gun. He's not gonna shoot anybody. He's still going off on that shit. And he's like sitting on my chest. He's like punching me in the face. And he's got like these metalhead rings on. So my face is like, his skull's like spikes.
How many of these fucking punches did you take?
I don't fucking remember. I got hit in the head,
with the metal rings.
Yeah, metal rings. I have like a picture of myself somewhere, but my face is like all cut up, But he's like sitting on my chest, like punching me in the face, And he's like trying to slam my head into the floor, but he can't even get to do it because I got the thickest skull in show business.
Okay.
In a different fight, a different story. A couple of years later, I got hit in the face something like 50 times in a row one night. That was some crazy shit. I'm understating with 50 because I don't know the exact number, but it was a lot. My fucking... And my nose like bleeding like crazy. But anyway, back to the fight we was already talking about. So he's like trying to slam my head on the ground. And I'm just like, he just can't even move my neck because my skull, is like that. It's fucking thick.
Okay.
So then I start like getting up. And he's like trying to slam my head in the pole. He can't do that either because my neck just won't move. And I'm standing up, and I rush him into the pole opposite us. I got him, like, pinned there, I've got, like, my hand on the pole, and my other one around it, and I've got him in, like, this bear hug, like, locked in there. I'm like, yo, like, someone help me. This fucker says he's trying to shoot me, No one does anything. A guy, like, takes out his phone, he starts filming. I haven't been able to find the video. I wish I could, But I'm like, okay. And then he starts freaking out at that because he's worried someone's got him. He's like, yo, let go of me, let go of me. He starts like punching me again. And I start losing my grip. I'm like, all right, I don't want to let go of this guy like this and like give him like free reign of like moving around again. So I reach up and I stick my thumb in his eye, And he stomps at me. He's like, ah! He like pushes me away, and then I fucking kneed him in the balls as hard as I could. And he makes like the noise like from a fucking cartoon. His eyes go wide, like,
You were trying to incapacitate him?
Yeah, I was fucking, at that point, it's like, all right, hit him, he hit me. You know, we're fucking standing there. Like, you tell me you're gonna fucking shoot me. I don't care if you have a gun or not. You know, there's no limit I won't sink to at that point. You know, if you're gonna be that kind of a prick, you know? Fucking, you gotta be honest about how you're gonna kick someone's ass.
Okay, so then what did you do after that?
Well, so then the train's like slowing down, coming into Delancey, and we separate. We both like kind of tumble towards the end of the car, and I end up in the doorway opposite the one I started in. And he's standing there, and he comes up to me again. He puts his hand in his jacket, and he's like, yo, I'm gonna shoot you. I'm gonna kill you. Do you know what it means to be killed? Do you know what it means to die? And I'm just standing, like fucking blood coming down my face, knowing he's full of shit. And I said to him, yeah, man, I know what it means to be killed. I know what it means to die, but if you were gonna shoot me, you would have done it already. You know, and his whole fucking tune changes then. Like, he's in, like, that posture, like, his shoulders drop, you know, his face, like, the whole expression changes, his whole tune changes. He goes, like, alright, man, I fucked you up pretty good. You see, he's gotta say himself first. He goes, you fucked me up pretty good, look at my eye. What do you say, like, we just call it even, we don't hurt each other anymore. And I'm just like, I wasn't even fucking trying to fight you, fine. You know, like we shake hands
Fucking
and get
weirdos, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a fucking weirdo.
Wait, there's
you know?
more to
But
this.
they're
Isn't
weirdo
there?
in a
This
bad
is
way.
about it, you know, but like, we fucking shake hands, we get off the subway car, like all polite to each other, like staying out of each other's way. He got off at that stop. I went to my fucking transfer, because, you know, I was at the show. I take the quickest way to get back home from where I was is, you know, go into Delancey and take the train back into Brooklyn on the F. So I go down to the F, you know. I'm sitting there and this guy comes up to me and it turns out he had like EMT training or some shit. You know, so he's like, look at him, he's like, yo, I'm gonna see if you have a concussion, like what happened when I was in this fucking fight with this guy. You know, I says, okay, you got like a pressure opening on your head, but like other than that, you're fine, you know, because like your eyes are dilating again when we're on the train, you know, and that's just like the funniest piece of luck, you know, like only in fucking New York is like you get in a fucking fight on the train, you know, you got your face like all ripped up, you know, and then sitting waiting for the next train, the first guy who runs into you was like a fucking EMT or some shit, you know.
I mean, that is a New York thing, but I mean, this is kind of like a daily occurrence for you, isn't it? Don't you get into like a bloody, drag-out, violent fight almost every day of your life?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Let's say that.
Well, you're from New York, yes?
Yeah, born and raised.
In Gowanus.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah, grew up from there, from the day I was born. I live out in Bushwick now.
I know, but you grew up in Gowanus. What's going on in Gowanus right now? You must be pretty upset.
It's fucking disgusting. They got a fucking ice cream parlor. This fucking place with all these fucking kids in it. A block away from the canal.
Well, let's back this up for certain people who might not know what Gowanus is. Is like you grew up to like a toxic radioactive canal, one of the most legendary waste dumps in all of New York City.
It's the most polluted waterway actually in the entire U.S.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I'm sure it's not the most polluted in the world because we got places
come on, the
like
world's
fucking,
pretty fucked up.
Yeah. But no, I know that. I've looked it up. Inside the United States, it's the most polluted.
What are the main pollutants in the Gowanus Canal? What sort of pollution?
All sorts of industrial waste, because they had like all these factories built along there, like since it was first, I don't know, like dug out of the ground or whatever, because they'd have like boats coming in. There was like a big like oil storage plant or gas or whatever. It used to be when I was a kid, you'd have these big fucking barges came up the canal. And there was like all these fucking pipes and shit on them, and they'd empty out like into this, you know, this depot, like these pipes like going over the bank, and then the oil trucks would fill up there and drive off there. So you got like all that shit probably spilling out into the canal. You know, you got like fucking like industrial waste from all the factories that used to be on there. There's like this fucking. The most recent one I could think of, there's like this industrial like candle place that makes like all those prayer candles and shit you see in like the bodegas. I don't think they're saying, just like the colored candles.
Those guys make a lot of pollution making fucking candles?
Well, yeah, it's
making
like fucking
bodega candles.
It's just like wax, you know. That's
yeah, but
not
wax isn't a toxic chemical.
No, but it doesn't biodegrade. You know, it just melts and reforms like that. You burn it and make smoke. You know, but anyway, they would be like making the candles, and they just let like the runoff go into the street, and they would eventually wash down the canal because they're like just the next street up. So you just got like plasticky wax shit like that. You know, it used to be you could go and you'd see like near the bridges, like where it's easiest for people to throw shit in, just like bicycles and lawn chairs and like
And
just
the
like
water
big
is like
chunks
green
of scrap metal.
and
Yeah, it's
fucking
like
brown,
gray,
iridescent
green.
brown.
Yeah, like
Rainbow
right after,
brown,
right-
if you
yeah,
can
it gets
picture
like
that.
the gas rainbows, and it's mostly green. Sometimes like blue, gray, green.
Okay, now-
sometimes brown. The mud is just black.
And you grew up close to this
I
environment.
grew up on the canal.
And in some sort
It was
of
my
weird,
backyard.
fucked up factory building or something.
Yeah.
Now, how
Like
much?
factories
Let's.
and
Here's
loft
two.
and
It's a
shit.
two-part question, but it's related. How much do you feel like growing up in that environment it affected your so-called condition, and how much of that environment actually influences your artwork? I think.
Well,
the
it definitely
Gowanus
affected
canal-
my condition because you got all these fumes and shit coming off.
And-
you.
and
I'm
look
a
at you.
fucking
And
mutant,
look at you.
You know?
Yeah, and look at you.
You know, canals gotta have something to do with that. And I mean, like, as far as influence, like my art and my business and shit, it's like what all that's built around. You know, I mean, like, I was like the toys were initially. I just call them the Mutant Commandos now, but they were the Gowanus Mutant Commandos at first.
They're not
'cause
called
they were,
that anymore.
No, I'm not really calling them that anymore. I think Mutant Commandos is just like.
There's a gang. There could be a gang from Gowanus in
Yeah,
that whole.
you know,
world.
but it's less specific. You know, it's more marketable that way. I mean, like Gowanus is cool, like, you know, but also I'm trying to like shy away from it a little because the area's
Really?
getting so gentrified now. You know, you got like all this shit.
Yeah,
like,
but
Park
you're,
Slope,
it's like
pouring
it's
down.
the same thing with Toy Lords of Chinatown. It's an aspiration or fantasy Gowanus where
Yeah.
it didn't go that way. It's an alternate reality
but
where
Chinatown's a little different.
no, but
because you still
Chinatown is
got,
getting really
like,
gentrified. It's not.
Chinatown's bigger, so you've got like more corners where shit can be like still going on.
It's not the
Gowanus
same.
is just like
it's
this
not,
one
it's,
strip.
It's yeah, but I'm just saying, in it is. It's,
I see what you're saying.
you know, as far as just like our interior version of these places don't match the exterior reality of them, and we force them
Yeah.
into existence by trying to make toys and films about the way we see it or the way it is for us.
that's a fair
what
point.
at least that I think that's what I think I see happening. But I understand as far as your marketing.
Also,
goes.
just Mutant Commandos is less of a mouthful than Gowanus Mutant Commandos. The thing is, also, my band that I had was called the Gowanus Mutant Commandos. We'd shorten it to GMK, you know? And people were always stoked. They're like, oh, like, what's Gowanus? It's like this fucking canal full of toxic waste that the mutants came out of, you know? Which is true. You know? Oh, you know, they found a fucking three-eyed catfish in the canal.
Thank God.
Some guy,
Finally.
yeah, like out of fucking
Finally.
Simpsons. It's like this. You can find a picture of it. It's this black catfish, like fucking slimy, with an eye in the middle of its forehead and two over here. Some guy was fishing in the canal.
I wonder if
And
it
he
could, do you
pulled
think
it out.
they can't figure out
Probably
if,
worth mad money.
you would think of that.
Well, he killed it.
Did he
'Cause was gonna
taxidermy
eat
it?
I don't know.
Was it a fully developed eye?
Yeah, it's like a
on the
whole
top.
eye.
You
in its
found it?
forehead.
Yeah.
Let me see. The three-eyed.
The eye is on the top.
Look, it's fucking black. Look at that shit.
How do we know that's not like some evolution or something?
Because it came out of the Gowanus Canal.
And the asshole killed it with a dick.
Because he wanted to
You know how
eat
much
it.
money you
Are you
could've got
fucking
for that?
serious? He ate that
I don't
fucking
think
thing?
he did.
Come
I
on.
think he wanted to. I don't know if he
Come
ate
on,
it
can
or
you
not.
email me that picture,
Yeah,
Jake?
absolutely.
And people were like getting all upset because he pulled it out of the canal. And they're like, oh, no, you gotta
That's an
throw it
endangered
back."
species.
Yeah,
It's the
only
rare,
one of
it's
a
the rare
kind.
three-eyed
Yeah.
Gowanus
I
catfish.
bet you could have sold that for like 10 G's.
I don't think it
Probably
would
20
have
G's.
lived long enough for him to sell it. I mean, look at that fucking thing. Although, then again,
If you
it
sold that
was,
to, like, an
if it
aquarium-
was living in the canal, I can't imagine anything else would kill it.
Can't you imagine? But I mean,
Oxygen.
imagine how like evolutionarily hardy that creature is. I mean, if it
Yeah.
could live in the Gowanus
Yeah.
Canal, and how do we know that growing a third eye isn't somehow an evolutionary adaptation to living there? Like maybe it's actually not. I mean, all
No, that's a
evolution is
good point,
mutation.
because the eyes on the top, you know, for like maybe it's to better perceive the light coming in through the waters. Because I know you can't see shit through that water. It's
Yeah,
like,
who knows?
It's
It
like
might be
being
to
under,
let in
like,
more
a
light.
concrete river. You know, it might be to help it navigate better. You know, some.
And the
fucking,
thing is, if that thing can survive all those chemicals and shit like that,
Yeah.
I mean, all evolution is based on mutation. I mean, the
Yeah.
theory of evolution is based that, something that shouldn't be there comes up and it happens to be better than it was already there and it becomes a dominant trait. How do we
Yeah.
know that that same type of thing isn't going on there? I mean, you got to consider,
It obviously is, but
Yeah, I think it was
influenced
big, too, man.
by
You
all
could've
of
sold that for
the
mad money.
substances in the
changing
water.
the
was it?
environment. It's
Huh?
How
responding
big
to a
was
change
it?
in
You
its
say it was
environment.
big?
Yeah.
But clearly, the change in environment
at
is
least
the
it's big.
pollutants, right?
Yeah, but where do the pollutants come from? They still came from the earth.
No, they didn't. They came from factories and shit. It's all
But the
synthetic
factories
shit.
is making, but the
But it's stuff that's not found in nature.
if you trace it far enough back, there's
But
nothing.
yeah,
It's not
proportions
coming
are-
from outer
that's a
space.
No, but the
Point,
proportions
that's
are
like-
completely wrong. Like, say if you just like, even if the percentage of oxygen oxygen is altered in our atmosphere, we would change behaviorally. So if you think about it, I mean, obviously all of the substances came from Earth, but if the proportions are messed up in a certain, area, then obviously the creatures that would constitute a change in environment, even if those natural,
Even if
those
it was
substances are natural.
Yeah, I
You
know.
also got to consider the time frame, though. Evolution usually happens over thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of years. This is like in a couple hundred years. Like this canal is like about as old as the United States are.
No, but the thing is,
Like,
mutations
evolution doesn't always
happen
that
from one
fast.
generation to the next.
Yeah.
Well, it's a fascinating account.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about you.
Oh yeah.
We're wrapping you up.
wrapping up.
J Corp, what do you think of Luke over here?
I was really, really intimidated. And at the beginning when he was saying he was at Renault Broadway, that's my stop. And I was like, shit, I wouldn't say hi to this guy, But in reality, now that I've heard him say, speak words and like sentences, I find him to be quite a young, talented, attractive individual.
Yeah.
Attractive.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm the best.
I guess.
I get that a
And
lot,
a new Nazi,
actually.
possibly.
And
Fucking
we're bringing that's between the thing. I'm a fucking Jew. I can't be a Nazi.
No, really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's just...
Do
that's
people
just what
think you're a
say that
Nazi
about you.
sometimes, right?
I mean, what do you fucking think? Yeah, the confusion is there.
Well, I mean, I don't see any swastikas or anything.
No, I don't fuck with
Just because
swastikas.
he looks so fucking hardcore, You're
Yeah.
just like, oh man.
They took the name Bonehead away from people like me. I can't call myself a bonehead now, because that's like a Nazi skinhead.
Is it?
Is
yeah,
it?
I mean, it's like, you got like fucking sharps and boneheads and like all different kinds
Sharp,
of fucking...
that's skinheads against racial prejudice,
Yeah,
right?
I used to fuck with the people I would go to shows. I'm like, no, it's skinhead against racial penis juice. They're against fucking interracial sex and all that.
Are
kind of
they?
thing. No, I made that shit up because I'm just harassing people.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, oh, you're a sharp. You don't like fucking black girls and white guys dating? What the fuck's wrong with you?
You do
know?
like to take the piss out of things.
Yeah.
I noticed that. I mean, you do that somewhat indiscriminately sometimes. You've scared a few of my friends or a few people I know.
Oh yeah. Well,
I mean, I
It was
don't-
just like that time I spit in David Healy's empty plate. There wasn't
And then
any food in it.
you stuck that knife through the grate in the back of that van you were
Oh
riding
yeah.
into the
They tried to
passenger
take the knife from me. What do you want me to do?
I get it.
Stuck a knife where?
Dude, they're great. It was
They were in like a
closed off. I
U-Haul.
was
They were in like a
cage.
U-Haul van. They were in a U-Haul van. They were moving some artwork or some shit. I think it was Cosby and Veronica were sitting in the front seat, and he
And
had to sit in
Ashton,
the back.
too.
Yeah, and he had to
I
sit
know
in the
because I
back.
took his hat.
Yeah, and then he's being him.
They
and
put me in a cage. What do
you
you
belong
want
in
me
a
to
motherfucking
do?
cage.
That
And like
doesn't
you-
mean I have to act like I'm in one.
when you stick a knife through a hole near somebody's face,
It wasn't
that justifies
close. It was-
putting
they're
you in a
all really
cage.
short
You
people.
could have
It was
talked.
above their
Why
heads.
did you need to do that? You could have talked your way out. You're quite. An
I was in the cage already. We were on the road. There was no talking to be had.
The point I'm trying to make is like people have gotten you wrong. Like J Corp thought you were a horrible little
completely.
monster, and now she totally wants to fuck you. So
No, come on. I can't admit these things. Man.
ideally, you're saying not
I get
want.
that from girls a lot, though. They say, I was scared to talk to you at first because you're really intimidating. And I'm sure from a lot of men, too, men are more sensitive about their masculinity, so they won't admit that they were intimidated. But I'm sure that
always
happens,
admit to
too.
you that actually they came around.
That's
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
kind
no,
of
that's
a
true.
turn. That's kind of a turn on, though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
In what way?
Well, you see somebody is dangerous, and then when you're suddenly not scared of them anymore, and you see a softer
here's
side
the
of them,
line.
they're-
The dangerous is like the spot when you realize that like this person is actually not psycho, but before that is like full on like maybe I shouldn't. There's blood gushing out of his face. Like,
Yeah, but once you-
maybe just stay away from.
but
this
if you
person.
feel safe, then suddenly his danger seems erotic.
Well, no, it's
Possibly.
because, it's like, what do you call it? Like, fear's an aphrodisiac. That's why you take a girl to a scary movie, because then you both got, like, your shit pumping, and you're like, oh, man, like, that wasn't really like I was going to get killed, but I feel like it.
And it
you
also
know?
causes you to
So-
exercise more of your primal self,
Exactly.
If you feel any sort of fight or flight thing, or
Well, they say that
you just feel
adrenaline
some.
sort of like releases really well in a state of fear. You also release dopamines in your head in the same way that you would if you were like excited for like a crush.
Sure. And,
Yeah.
and also though, it's a survival thing where like escaping death makes you want to reproduce.
Yeah.
It's like-
Absolutely.
Psychological.
yeah, in a way.
So you've got the greatest game in New York City, actually.
Yeah, because you are really
Well,
nice,
it's
a nice,
double-edged
sweet guy,
sword,
aren't
because
you?
you have to get to the point where they're like, oh, he's actually a cool dude. You have to get past everything
Well, they
else.
don't get past
That's
it.
like
I mean,
90%. Oh, I mean, I'm scared off people who I'm like, yeah.
So have I.
Yeah, I'm about that. But like more than most people do, you know, because, and I'm fine with that, you know, but because of that whole like,
I'm not quite as scary as you, at least
Yeah.
at least in this visual aspect. But it's like I think I'm just as off-putting as you are, in a slightly more subtle way. Lots of people fucking hate my guts or just don't get me or think I'm wrong until they get to know me a little bit, and then they
Well, three of
fucking
us have
love
that in
me.
common, huh?
And that's like why I feel like I have something in common with him. You know, just because I think it manifests slightly different, but we both have that like. If you don't know us, you're fucking shook. And
I
then
have
if-
friends
and if-
I have friends who think that who when I tell them, you know, oh yeah, I'm just going to go chill with the Sucklord, and like, oh, the Sucklord, he's kind of weird, no? And I tell him, you know, you come around, just
you're
get to
being
know him
nice
a
to
little
say
bit.
he's an asshole. I had some friends who I brought by to when you were doing the pop-up shop. And after I got out there, my one guy's like, yo, so Sucklord, he's kind of a dick, right? And I'm like, what do you want me to say? You know,
What
like,
do I want you to say?
no, what do they want me to say? Because he kept going like, every couple of sentences, like, yeah, so like, Sucklord's kind of a dick, right? And I'm like, what do you want me to tell you? That's his whole thing.
But he
you
was
know?
also intrigued, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
no, he thought it was cool. They had the whole shop set up. He was digging like all the
But
stuff.
I'm not a dick. Am I really a dick?
Oh, you're a huge dick.
No,
but
I'm
you're
not.
a dick in the way that I get along with you, like you was saying.
You're
know?
not a
I
bad,
see
evil
like
person.
a kindred spirit.
I think you care about people.
I wouldn't go that far. I care about some people.
But the shit you do care about, you really care about.
Yeah.
Like,
Yo, but what she was saying, she's like, yo, people think Sucklord's weird, you know, like, yo, those are the type of people that are fucking normal and boring. I don't give a fuck. You know
you're
what
the
I'm saying?
same way too. I mean, you have a very off-putting personality. You do. You do. I mean, but that's fun. But like, you know that. I mean, I know that it's just like you're saying, it's a way of weeding out the people that you don't want to fuck with anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
This is how
That's
I-
why
this
I would
is-
always. My mother would always be like, when I was a kid, she'd be like, "Oh, but if you act like that, like people won't want to be around you." I'm like, "Yeah."
I don't want people around me.
Then the only people who want to be around me is the ones who I know are gonna be like fucking loyal and like down on their shit, you know?
Yeah,
Because
and
if they'll
get
put
you
up with
jokes,
all of
you know,
that
get
shit,
get you,
you know.
Yeah, but it's.
Just vibe.
I think it all works out fine. I personally think we've developed a way of living, a way of approaching the world. I think this is very sophisticated stuff here. I think this
Yeah,
is highly well executed and engineered social interaction for the modern time.
It's true. I do put a lot of time and effort and thought into how I present myself. You know?
Yeah.
And it's like people say, like, oh, but like, you're supposed to be a punk, which is like not even a label that I ascribe to myself. But they'll say, oh, but you're not supposed to care what people think. And it's like, no. I care what people think. I just don't care that they think good things about me. You know?
You
It's like-
purposefully trying to make people not like you or certain people?
No, I'm trying to do what I want to do, and I'm trying to look the way
Which
that
is
I want
which
to
is
look.
what?
You know?
What are you trying to do?
Fucking mutants, man.
Okay.
Trying to be a fucking mutant, you know? And it's like,
I mean, you should be dead technically.
oh, many times over.
Yeah, you're not. You're
Oh,
not.
yeah.
You don't chemically agree with this world.
Nah.
It would seem.
This world don't
Yet
want
somehow
me
you
alive. I don't
persist.
even want to be alive in this world. I mean, like, I'm not saying like I'm gonna kill myself.
No.
You know, because honestly, that's like, if you're gonna die, why is it gonna be you? You gotta force someone
So
else
what are you
to
gonna
do
do
it,
after
you know?
this?
Yeah.
After this life.
You gotta force someone else to
If you gotta end your own life, you gotta put it in a situation where someone else just can't stand you that much that they do it
for you.
Yeah, because suicide's a sin.
Sounds like a lot of
According
work.
to the Lord our Father, Jesus.
There's a thing in
Herbert
there's
Christ,
a, there's
you
a
know,
there's a thing
he
in
says
Lost
you
like
can't
that.
kill yourself. You know. What were you saying?
There's that part in Lost where like in
That
order.
show sucks.
No, but there's a lot of biblical overtones in this thing about
Bible
the
stuff
guy
in there,
can't kill
everything.
himself. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, because the show sucked. It was
That's-
long
for sure.
and nothing ever happened. Lost.
Lost.
Man, like a polar bear. Like, what the fuck is up with that? A monster made of smoke. Why can't you make
that
a
smoke monster?
Why can't you make a monster out
It's
of
the fakest
monster?
looking shit, too,
Why can't
man.
you make a monster out of monster? Why is it gotta be made of smoke? Smoke can't do shit. It just chokes you and gives you cancer.
All right,
that's
all
not
right,
a
all
monster,
right.
that's just-
all right,
that's just
all right.
life.
You know what? It was. All right, enough. I think we did. I wanted to just re-up with you and get my audience to know who you are, and now we fucking know and we're satisfied. So
That's right.
it's been fucking great having you here.
Kiss it, baby.
The Suck Hour podcast
There you
persists on into the future. Mutopia Toys, is that how?
Yeah,
you-
Utopia Toys.
At Instagram.
No, no. The Instagram is the Red King in Leather.
The Red King in Leather. We didn't even talk about your music or your band.
Well, that's not my music or my band. That's just the Instagram name.
But
and
that's
my
what you
title.
are. I've
Yeah.
seen pictures of you like
The Red King in Leather.
ruling over crowds of music fans,
Yeah.
railing against them and compelling them to do.
Unspeakable things.
Unspeakable
Mostly I
things.
just do unspeakable things to them. My favorite thing to do is to grab someone by the sides of the head and just headbutt them. You know, someone was like, they're having a good time, like they're up front. You're like, yeah, like this song rules. You know, crack. You know, just split their head open. You know, one time I stomped a man's heart with a headbutt. I headbutt him in the chest.
I
and
can't
he
wait
was
to go
telling
to
me
see one
his
of your
heart
shows. I'm gonna
stopped,
stand way
you
the
know?
fuck in the back.
He said he was like I felt like I was having a heart attack. Like my glasses
Don't you
were
also-
flying off. I was doubled over. I couldn't breathe.
I was doubled over.
Yeah.
It was like the best show I was
Oh,
ever
he
at.
loved it. He's a good friend of mine. This guy Newman.
Well, didn't-
He's great. He lives out in Ohio.
So, is your band happening now?
Hell no, we broke up at the end of our tour. The last show we played was in New Brunswick in New Jersey. It was this fucking basement show. And I shot the crowd with a Roman candle, and that was great. They were all fucking fleeing out the back. They were trampling each other to get away from us. That was incredible. And most of them came back in. But then this fucking junkie guy, who I've been getting like a weird vibe off of all night, like from the moment we rolled up in the van. You know, in between one of our songs, he just drops his pants and goes, "Who wants to touch my dick?" And I'm just like, yo, keep that filthy fucking thing away from me. You know, he got fair
On the
warning. Yeah, into the mic. I told him before, like, yo, like, get away from me. Like, don't sit near me, don't talk to me. You know, before the show even started, you know. He'd been told multiple times, once we start the set, he comes up to me and just presses up against me. You know, like, right up against me. I'm just like, what the fuck do you want me to do? And I slugged him. You know,
On
and he's-
stage? He ran up on stage and...
Oh, I mean, it's like a basement show. There's no stage. But yeah, he's like standing right up there. So I cold cocked him, you know, and he's like high out of his mind. So he's just like looking at me. And then he just turns around and walks out. But apparently this guy was friends with everyone in the house of the show we were playing at. You know, so they have like this meeting upstairs, like, oh, what are we gonna do? You know, like, oh, we should kick their asses, you know. And it turned out to not be anything. Like, you know, it's just some tough guys, you know, just trying to start some shit, and nothing happened, you know. Fucking, but it was like this whole big thing, like, yo, like, you gotta get your stuff and get out of here, you know. And the band broke up that night because we've been on tour. I've been like driving everyone really hard because I ran that band like a military.
You're a stern
unit.
taskmaster.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And we did really good because of that, but because of it also.
You had some fuck ups in your band.
I wouldn't go that far. That didn't really have to do with why the band broke up. It was mostly because the structural integrity of a band running that way could not maintain itself. And I knew that before the tour started. You know, I
Are you
was
gonna
like,
make another band?
Yeah, I'm working on it. Or I'm gonna reform this band. You know, maybe some of the same songs, some new ones. You know, start playing shows again. But when I'm ready to do it, when the time is right.
Okay then, Luke Mutopia Toys, former Sucklord intern and now master apprentice,
Yeah.
Sucklord apprentice, now master of the wasteland.
Yeah.
We'll see you again. J Corp, Nasty Neil, you know where to find these people. This has been a real pleasure coming into your home. Thank you for listening to our little trip down.
You're an incredible human being.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a human being, a mutant.
Yeah.
I'm an incredible
Mutant.
Well, you know what? It's like you do give us hope. You know that like after everything goes to shit and there's like a total toxic apocalypse,
Hey, at
like
least
it's
I know Luke.
it's still gonna be cool. Bitches are gonna want to fuck you because you have that sperm, you have that extra gene. Think about this in the future because you can survive certain things that other people can't survive. Other men, you know, don't have the gene. Your sperm is going to be worth a lot of money in the
It's
new
that
world.
third eye gene.
Yeah, you have the third eye gene.
I'm pounding that third eye.
They killed
back
that
in.
catfish, man.
Good night,
The
everybody.
guy wanted to eat it. They didn't even let him, I don't think.
Cut.
Load of crap.